The stars stretched endlessly across the dark canvas of space, each one a distant sun, a potential world, a place of mystery. Among them, the human starship Vanguard cut silently through the void, its engines humming with steady determination. Captain Elias Rourke stood on the bridge, his hands resting lightly on the control rail, eyes scanning the endless black. Humans had long been underestimated in the galaxy, dismissed as fragile, short-lived, and reckless, but he knew the truth. They had courage, ingenuity, and a stubborn will to survive that no alien species could ever fully understand. A warning light flashed suddenly on the console. Lieutenant Mara Chen's voice came over the intercom, calm but tense. "Captain, we are receiving a distress signal from Velora Prime. The transmission is weak but persistent. It repeats in an unknown dialect, translating now." Velora Prime was a remote planet on the edge of human-mapped space, a place most species ignored. Yet someone was asking for help, and a human instinct drove Elias forward. Ignoring danger was never an option when lives were at stake. "Set a course for Velora Prime," he ordered. "Full speed, evasive route. We're not waiting." Outside, the stars streaked into lines, a tunnel of light as the ship jumped into faster-than-light travel. In the quiet of the bridge, tension and anticipation mingled. The crew knew the risks. Velora Prime had been largely unexplored. Hostile species sometimes claimed these outer worlds as hunting grounds, and yet human resolve had faced worse. Hours later, the ship emerged from hyperspace into the orbit of a jagged, stormy planet. Velora Prime was harsh and unwelcoming, its surface scarred by deep ravines and vast metallic spires that jutted from the land like broken teeth. Above, swirling clouds hid the sun, casting the world in a dim, eerie light. The distress signal pulsed again, leading them toward a facility perched atop a craggy mountain. "Looks abandoned from orbit," Lieutenant Chen said, frowning. "But the signal is coming from the central tower. Sensors show signs of recent activity. I want eyes on the ground before we commit the full landing party. Let's be fast and smart, minimal exposure, maximum impact." Inside, the facility was dark and silent except for the occasional hum of machinery. It was clear that whoever had taken the occupant had expected humans would never reach her. They found evidence of struggle: scorched walls, deep claw marks, and scorched patches where energy weapons had been discharged. Lyris, the daughter of Velora Prime's ruling queen, had been taken here, held by a merciless alien faction notorious for capturing high-value individuals for ransom, experiments, or worse. As the insertion team moved deeper, they encountered automated defenses. Energy turrets sprang to life, scanning the corridors. Mara and her team reacted with precision. Using portable EMPs, they disabled the defenses without alerting the entire facility. Humans had a knack for improvisation. The aliens may have designed the building to be lethal, but the humans adapted faster than the creators could have imagined. Then they reached the inner chamber. The door was thick, reinforced with multiple layers of metal and force fields. Through a small viewport, they saw her, Lyris, bound and unconscious, suspended above a platform by glowing restraints. Her alien physiology was delicate yet strong, with faintly luminescent skin and eyes that glimmered even in unconsciousness. Elias' jaw tightened. He had seen a lot in his years of service, but the sight of someone held captive like this always hit differently. "We're getting her out," he said softly, the team set to work. The restraints were advanced, designed to prevent tampering from most species, but humans had a different kind of ingenuity. Working together, they bypassed complex circuits, rewired energy nodes, and used raw physical strength where machines failed. Every minute mattered. Every wrong move could trigger an alarm. Finally, the restraints released with a hiss. Lyris slumped forward, weak but alive. She blinked up at Elias, fear and confusion in her alien eyes. Who are you?" she whispered. "I'm Elias Rourke, and we're here to get you out," he said calmly. "You're safe now, but we need to move fast." Humans were unknown in this part of the galaxy, often dismissed as weak predators. Yet here was one standing before her, daring to challenge her captors. That defiance, that courage, planted the first seeds of respect in her mind. Suddenly, alarms blared. They had been discovered. Turrets reactivated and armed guards poured into the chamber. Humans did not panic. They fought with speed and coordination that belied their smaller numbers. Each movement was precise, calculated. Elias moved with lethal efficiency, disarming threats, covering his team, keeping Lyris safe. The battle was short but brutal. Human determination overcame alien technology. It was not sheer strength that won, but strategy, adaptability, and a relentless refusal to yield. When the last guard fell, Elias looked around at his team, pride and relief mingling in his chest. Everyone okay? Shuttles fired up, engines screaming, and the team barely made it to the craft before the tower collapsed into molten rock. As they ascended, Lyris stared at the shrinking ruins. Why did you risk so much for me?" she asked, still bewildered by human courage. Elias gave a small, wry smile. "Because no one deserves to be left behind. And because humans, we don't know when to quit." As the Vanguard prepared to leave orbit, a new threat emerged on the sensors. Ships from the merciless faction, fast and heavily armed, moving to intercept them. Humans had taken what most would consider impossible odds and turned them into a victory, but the galaxy would not forgive so easily. The chase had begun, and Elias knew that ingenuity would be their greatest weapon. In that moment, Lyris clung to the edge of the shuttle, glancing at the human faces around her. They were ordinary in appearance, smaller, frailer, but the spirit within them radiated something extraordinary. She had been rescued not by technology alone, nor by brute force, but by the unyielding will of humans. And for the first time, she wondered what her life might look like in a galaxy where such beings were allies, not enemies. The stars streaked past as the Vanguard leapt into faster-than-light travel. The human crew celebrated silently, proud but cautious, knowing the galaxy was vast and full of dangers yet unknown. And above all, Lyris, once a captive of fear, began to understand that humanity was not to be underestimated. In that endless blackness, a bond had been formed, a bond that would challenge the prejudices of entire worlds and change the course of the galaxy forever. And somewhere in the distance, hidden among the stars, those who had captured her paused, realizing too late that humans were capable of far more than anyone had ever imagined. The first act was complete. Lyris was free. Humans had proven themselves once again, and the galaxy would never see them the same way again. The stars outside the viewport stretched into long streaks as the Vanguard sailed through hyperspace. The human crew moved with quiet efficiency, attending to ship functions and repairs after their daring rescue mission. Lyris sat in the observation deck, gazing at the blur of lights outside. Her mind was still a whirlwind of confusion, fear, and awe. She had been trapped and powerless, but now, surrounded by humans who had risked everything for her, she felt a strange new sensation, hope. Captain Elias Rourke approached her, leaning lightly on the railing. "You've been quiet," he observed. His tone was neither judgmental nor prying, merely curious. I am trying to understand," Lyris admitted. Her voice was soft but steady, betraying the alien accent that marked her as royalty. "Your people, you risked yourselves for me, you do not even know me. Why?" "And because sometimes, doing the right thing is worth the risk, even if it seems impossible." But here was something different, courage coupled with intelligence, and a stubborn will that refused to accept defeat. The shuttle carrying Lyris returned to the Vanguard's main deck, where the crew had begun assessing the situation. Lieutenant Mara Chen worked at the control panel, running scans of Velora Prime and the surrounding space lanes. "The faction that captured her isn't far behind," she reported. "They've mobilized ships capable of interdicting us once we exit hyperspace." Every member knew their role, every motion was precise, yet none of them hesitated or faltered under pressure. In her own world, even elite forces sometimes struggled to operate together in high-risk situations. Here, humans acted as one, a single organism with multiple parts. It was fascinating. Over the next few hours, Lyris began to ask questions, first hesitantly, then more boldly. She wanted to understand these beings who could accomplish so much despite their apparent fragility. She learned about their planet, the trials humans had endured to survive and thrive, and their relentless curiosity. Elias answered her questions patiently, offering insights without condescension. "You survive by thinking ahead," Lyris said finally, her tone almost reflective. "By seeing possibilities that others ignore. It is unusual for a species so small, so young." Lyris watched as the humans prepared for any eventuality, analyzing the situation, devising contingencies, and running simulations. Unlike the merciless faction she had been captured by, humans did not rely solely on superior firepower. They relied on ingenuity, strategy, and creativity. When the first of the enemy ships appeared on the scanners, Lyris noticed a pattern. The humans were already anticipating moves she had not even considered. Shields were oriented toward expected attack vectors, escape routes plotted in case of overwhelming force, and decoy drones deployed to confuse sensors. Each preparation reflected not just skill, but a deep understanding of their own limitations. As the enemy vessels approached, the vanguard executed a series of maneuvers that Lyris had never seen before. Twists, turns, and sudden accelerations that would have shattered lesser ships occurred with precision and purpose. The pursuing ships fired, energy bolts slicing through the void, but the humans evaded each attack. "You are extraordinary," Lyris murmured, almost to herself. Her eyes followed the displays, watching as humans used limited resources to create an advantage far beyond what should have been possible. They thought like predators and engineers at the same time, a combination she had never seen in her people or her enemies. Elias glanced at her. "You'll learn quickly that humans are like that. We survive by thinking differently, by not accepting the rules other species assume. Sometimes that gets us killed, but often it keeps us alive." The humans had no advantage in size or raw power, yet they dominated the encounter with intelligence, speed, and teamwork. After the enemy ships fell behind, the vanguard sailed into a safer section of space. The crew took a moment to breathe, but no one relaxed completely. Elias gathered the team in the briefing room, maps and holograms projected across the table. "We're not safe yet," he began. "The faction that captured Lyris will regroup. They know we exist now and they will try again. We need to plan for multiple contingencies. Any misstep could cost lives." They relied on something more than instinct. They relied on intelligence, on cooperation, on courage tempered by careful thought. Unlike many species, humans did not assume their way would work. They tested, improvised, and adjusted. That night in the quiet of her quarters, Lyris reflected on her journey. She had been terrified, captured by a species that had treated her as property. But humans had risked themselves without hesitation to save her. Their actions had been deliberate, careful, and yet fearless. For the first time, she felt a profound respect for a species other than her own. Elias came to check on her, offering a meal and some basic supplies. "You should eat," he said. "Long journey ahead and you'll need strength. Your people, you are unlike anyone I have known. You do not wait for permission. You do not yield to fear easily. How do you survive when so many others underestimate you? That's more important than strength, more important than technology. Humans survive because we never give up and we never leave someone behind. Humans thrived where others might fail because they combined heart and mind, instinct and ingenuity." It was a lesson she would not forget. The next day, as the vanguard navigated through asteroid fields and cosmic debris, Lyris joined the bridge crew. She observed closely, learning the patterns of human decision-making. She saw how Mara calculated angles and trajectories, how the engineers anticipated mechanical failures, and how Elias coordinated the team with a quiet authority that inspired trust. Humans were small, vulnerable, and yet in the face of danger, they became something far greater than their size suggested. "Why do you risk so much for others?" Lyris asked again, genuinely curious. Elias thought for a moment. "Because it's the right thing to do, because life is precious, and because one day someone will risk themselves for us. It's how we survive as a species, by looking out for each other." But humans measured worth differently. They measured it by courage, by loyalty, by ingenuity, and by the willingness to act even when the outcome was uncertain. Over the following days, the vanguard encountered small challenges: meteor storms, minor mechanical failures, and a few scouting ships from the faction that had captured Lyris. Each obstacle tested the humans' ingenuity and teamwork. Lyris witnessed them overcome these trials with calm determination, using creativity rather than sheer firepower to succeed. She began to participate, offering suggestions based on her knowledge of alien technology. To her surprise, the humans welcomed her input, integrating her ideas seamlessly into their plans. By the time they neared a safer sector of space, Lyris had grown to understand and admire human resilience. She realized that the galaxy's underestimation of humans was not just arrogance, it was ignorance. Humans were not only clever and adaptable, but also capable of inspiring loyalty and courage in those around them. They were underestimated because no one expected such determination from a species so young and seemingly fragile. That evening, Lyris stood at the observation deck again, watching distant stars blink like scattered jewels. The vanguard moved steadily through space, and she felt a strange sense of belonging. She had been a captive, then a guest, and now, in a way she had not anticipated, a participant in something greater than herself. Humans had shown her courage, loyalty, and intelligence in ways she had never imagined. She realized that they were not merely survivors. They were creators, innovators, and protectors. And for the first time, Lyris allowed herself to hope. Hope that her people could learn from these humans, hope that the galaxy could see them for what they truly were, and hope that one day, humans and Velorans could stand side by side. The stars continued to rush past as the vanguard sailed onward. Somewhere in the vast darkness, the merciless faction regrouped, unaware that their prey had become a catalyst for a change they could not foresee. Humans had proven themselves once again, not through overwhelming force, but through courage, intelligence, and heart. And Lyris, once a captive and now an ally, would never forget the lesson, that in the galaxy, the smallest, seemingly weakest beings could hold the greatest power. The vanguard drifted silently through the void as Velora Prime grew larger in the viewport. The jagged mountains and deep valleys of the planet were visible even from orbit, bathed in the faint light of the distant sun. Lyris stood beside Captain Elias Rourke, studying her homeworld with a mixture of awe and apprehension. She had been gone for what felt like an eternity, and now she was returning not as a captive but accompanied by humans, creatures her people had long dismissed as weak and insignificant. Elias glanced at her, reading the emotions in her eyes. "It won't be easy," he said softly. "Your world is powerful, and there are many who won't understand why we're here. But humans, we adapt. We find a way." She had begun to believe that nothing was impossible for them. On the bridge, the crew prepared for descent. Mara Chen monitored sensors, plotting an approach that avoided natural hazards and potential enemy detection. "We have multiple options," she said, pointing to a holographic map. "We can use the asteroid belt near the equator for cover. It will be risky, but it will minimize exposure to patrols." The rocks were massive, some larger than small cities, and the ship had to twist and turn to avoid collisions. Lyris felt the tension in the cabin as the crew executed each maneuver flawlessly. Humans did not panic. They anticipated, adapted, and acted with calm precision. It was a dance of intellect and courage that left her both nervous and amazed. As they neared the central continent, Lyris's senses sharpened. The landscape below was vast, dotted with cities, spires, and defensive fortresses. Yet she noticed something troubling: movement. Ships from the merciless faction were converging on their location, fast and relentless. "They've found us," Lyris said, pointing to the approaching fleet. Her voice was steady, but her heart pounded. Elias did not flinch. "We knew they would. Prepare for defensive maneuvers. Keep your focus. This is where humans show what we're made of." Mara redirected shields to intercept the strongest attacks, while engineers rerouted power to damaged systems in real time. The crew used every advantage they could find, and when necessary, improvised solutions that no alien could have predicted. Lyris realized that humans did not rely solely on weapons. They relied on ingenuity. When one engine was damaged, they adapted, using remaining power to stabilize the ship. When enemy sensors locked on, they deployed decoys that fooled the attackers' targeting systems. Every action was calculated, every move a combination of courage and intellect. Despite being outnumbered, the humans held their ground. They were smaller, weaker, and seemingly fragile, yet the alien fleet could not predict their strategy. Lyris began to feel a deep respect for these beings. They were underestimated not because they lacked power, but because no one could imagine the level of determination and cleverness they possessed. Hours passed in a blur of movement, strategy, and calculation. The enemy fleet tried every tactic they knew, but humans always seemed one step ahead. Lyris could barely keep up with the rapid decisions being made, but she understood one thing clearly: humans fought not for glory or conquest, but for survival, loyalty, and honor. Finally, the vanguard emerged from the asteroid field, having outmaneuvered the enemy. The merciless faction was still in pursuit, but the humans had gained the advantage. Lyris's heart raced with exhilaration. She had witnessed human courage in battle, but now she understood that their true strength lay in their ability to think, to adapt, and to act without hesitation. As they approached Velora Prime's atmosphere, the planet's surface became clearer. The central city, home of the alien queen, loomed ahead. Spires of metal and crystal glinted in the dim light, and the vast halls of the palace were visible from orbit. Lyris felt a pang of emotion. She was returning home, but not as a victim. She was returning with humans who had proven themselves capable of confronting any danger. Elias set the ship down on a secure plateau near the city. The landing was smooth, a testament to human precision and skill. Lyris stepped onto the ground, feeling the familiar texture of Velora Prime's soil beneath her feet. She turned to the humans beside her, a mixture of gratitude, admiration, and disbelief in her eyes. "You've done the impossible," she said quietly. "My people, they will never forget this. We didn't do it for recognition. We did it because it was right. That's what humans do." News of Lyris's rescue had spread quickly, and the presence of humans, creatures previously dismissed as weak, caused a stir throughout the populace. Inside the palace, the alien queen awaited. Her attendants had prepared for her daughter's return, but none had expected her to arrive with humans at her side. The queen's eyes widened as she saw Elias and the crew enter the grand hall. Lyris approached her mother, her voice steady and clear. "Mother, I am back," she said, "and these are the humans who saved me." The queen's grief was for the danger her daughter had faced, but also for the realization that humans, the very beings she had once underestimated, had proven their worth. Elias stepped back respectfully, allowing the reunion to take place. He observed quietly, understanding that some moments transcended species, culture, and language. Humans had done what was right, and now the ripple effect of their actions was evident in the tears of a queen. The Council of Velora Prime gathered shortly afterward. Leaders and advisors debated the presence of humans, their eyes filled with skepticism and caution. But Lyris spoke with clarity and authority. She described the courage, ingenuity, and loyalty of the humans who had risked everything for her. Her words carried weight, and slowly the council began to recognize the truth. Humans were not weak. They were capable, resourceful, and unyielding. Over the following days, Lyris introduced the humans to her world. They were given access to knowledge, technology, and history previously reserved for Velora Prime's elite. Lyris watched as they adapted quickly, learning, questioning, and innovating. Their presence challenged old prejudices and inspired new respect among the Velorans. Elias observed quietly, noting how the humans interacted with the alien environment. They treated it with respect but did not fear it. They adapted to its challenges with intelligence and creativity. Lyris noticed this as well and began to see the humans not as outsiders, but as partners, beings who could stand beside her people as equals. One evening, as the sun set over the crystal spires of the palace, Lyris spoke with Elias privately. "I have always thought my people were strong," she said. "But humans, you are different. You survive not because you are the strongest, but because you are clever, brave, and loyal. I have never seen anything like it. That is enough to survive, and sometimes to change the galaxy." Across the city, whispers continued. Stories of the human rescue spread, inspiring citizens and leaders alike. Humans were no longer outsiders. They were respected, even feared, as beings who could accomplish what others deemed impossible. Lyris felt a deep sense of pride and gratitude, knowing that her people had witnessed a turning point in history, one where humans proved themselves worthy allies and extraordinary individuals. As night fell, Lyris gazed at the stars above. Somewhere out there, threats still lurked, and the galaxy remained dangerous. But for the first time, she felt a sense of hope and confidence. Humans had shown her that courage, intelligence, and loyalty could overcome any obstacle. And she knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, humans would be a force that could not be ignored. The events of the past days had changed her perspective, her heart, and her understanding of strength. Humans had entered her world, not as conquerors or strangers, but as saviors and partners. And in the quiet of the Veloran night, Lyris allowed herself to imagine a future where humans and Velorans could stand together, stronger than ever before. The city of Velora Prime shimmered in the pale light of dawn, its crystal spires reflecting the first rays of the sun. Lyris walked through the streets beside Captain Elias Rourke and his crew, observing the citizens who now regarded the humans with awe and curiosity. Whispers followed their path, some in admiration, some in disbelief. No one could ignore the presence of beings who had defied danger, outsmarted a merciless enemy, and returned one of their own safely. Humans had changed perceptions in a single act, and their reputation spread faster than any Veloran messenger. Lyris's mother, the alien queen, had summoned a private council to discuss the implications of these recent events. The queen's eyes, red-rimmed from tears the day her daughter returned, now glistened with a mixture of respect and cautious awe. "My daughter has returned because of these humans," she said softly, her voice carrying across the marble hall. "They risked themselves for her, showing courage, ingenuity, and loyalty beyond what we believed possible." Yet the undeniable evidence of the Vanguard's success challenged every assumption. One ambassador from the central provinces leaned forward, voice sharp with doubt. Queen, they are still outsiders. They may have succeeded once, but can they truly be trusted? What guarantee do we have that they will act with such precision again? We do not act for recognition. Humans act because it is right. We rely on courage, intelligence, and loyalty, not fear or dominance. And while no one can guarantee the future, our actions today prove that humans will face danger, adapt, and protect those who cannot protect themselves. She had learned much about human resolve in recent days, but seeing Elias speak to the council, commanding respect without arrogance or threats, reinforced the truth she had begun to understand. Humans inspired trust through action, not words. The council listened, hesitant yet intrigued, as humans demonstrated a new form of strength, one that relied on heart as much as strategy. After the council meeting, Lyris and the humans moved to the outskirts of the city. Reports indicated that remnants of the faction that had captured her were regrouping in hidden bases across the planet. They had not been defeated entirely, and the threat remained. Elias gathered his team and addressed Lyris. "We can't stay idle. These forces will strike again, and if they target your people or this city, we must be ready. Humans act not only to protect themselves, but to defend others. It's what we do." Now she would witness it again, closer, and in a way that would test the limits of her understanding of courage. The humans and Lyris moved toward a ridge overlooking a valley known for its treacherous terrain. Sensor readings indicated enemy movement below, small fleets and squads, hidden among the natural formations and technological fortifications. Lyris marveled at the way humans analyzed the terrain, predicting ambushes and weak points. They did not rely solely on weapons. They relied on insight, intuition, and experience combined with a relentless drive to protect life. Elias outlined the plan. "We will divide into teams. Mara, you handle recon and sensor disruption. I will lead the main team through the canyon passes. Lyris, stay with me. We may need your knowledge of this world. Everyone else support, provide cover, and be ready to adapt. We expect surprises, anticipate them." Every instinct told her to hide, to wait, to avoid danger, but the humans had taught her another way. They faced danger head-on, assessing risks, improvising, and acting decisively. The first encounter came swiftly. Enemy scouts emerged from cover, energy rifles raised. Humans reacted with coordination that seemed almost instinctive. Mara activated a portable EMP device, disabling enemy sensors while other team members flanked the scouts. Lyris watched in awe as humans moved together, covering blind spots, improvising when situations changed, and never hesitating. Within moments, the scouts were neutralized, and the humans continued toward the main objective. "This is remarkable," Lyris whispered to Elias. "You anticipate, adapt, and react faster than I could imagine. My people rely on force and numbers, but humans rely on intelligence." Automated turrets lined the perimeter, sensors scanned continuously, and patrolling units moved in unpredictable patterns. Most species would have hesitated, overwhelmed by the complexity of the defenses, but the humans remained focused. Mara's team disabled sensors with precise timing, engineers rigged temporary power diversions to disable turrets, and Elias' team moved through shadows, avoiding detection while preparing for the final assault. Lyris, now fully engaged, offered guidance based on her knowledge of the base's architecture. Humans listened carefully, integrating her insights seamlessly. It was a partnership born of necessity and trust, a fusion of alien knowledge and human ingenuity. Together, they moved like a single entity, unstoppable and precise. The assault began. Energy bolts streaked through the night, alarms blared, and enemy forces reacted with aggression and surprise. Yet humans adapted continuously. When a turret malfunctioned, they rewired it to fire at the enemy. When a squad attempted to flank them, humans used terrain to create bottlenecks, neutralizing threats efficiently. Lyris observed, heart pounding, as humans turned each obstacle into an advantage, never panicking, never hesitating. Hours passed in tense combat, but victory gradually became evident. The enemy, expecting an easy target, could not comprehend the humans' combination of courage, adaptability, and precision. Lyris saw their morale crumble as humans moved like a force of nature, unpredictable and relentless. Finally, the last enemy forces were subdued. Humans gathered, checking each other and Lyris for injuries. Exhausted but triumphant, they had not only neutralized a threat but demonstrated a lesson that would echo across Velora Prime. Humans were a force to be respected, capable of confronting overwhelming odds and emerging victorious. Lyris stood beside Elias, gazing at the aftermath. Her heart swelled with admiration and gratitude. "You have shown me a power unlike any I have known," she said softly. "Strength is not always in numbers or weapons. Humans are stronger than we imagined. Humans have survived, thrived, and changed the galaxy because we never give up and never leave someone behind. Humans, once dismissed as fragile and insignificant, had proven themselves capable of extraordinary feats." The alien queen wept once more, tears of pride and respect for the species that had protected her daughter and challenged long-held prejudices. That night, as the humans rested, Lyris stood at the edge of the city, looking at the stars above. She thought of the challenges they had faced, the danger that had seemed insurmountable, and the ingenuity that had turned impossible situations into victories. Humans had not relied on brute force alone. They had relied on heart, mind, and a refusal to surrender. She realized that the galaxy had underestimated them for too long. Humans were not merely survivors. They were innovators, protectors, and pioneers. And in the quiet of the Veloran night, Lyris allowed herself to imagine a future where humans and her people could stand together, stronger than ever, facing whatever threats the galaxy might bring. For the humans, the battle had been another demonstration of what they had always known. Courage and intelligence could overcome overwhelming odds. For Lyris, it was a revelation, a lesson in resilience and the extraordinary potential of a species too many had dismissed. And for Velora Prime, it was the beginning of a new era, one in which humans were no longer outsiders but respected allies, capable of inspiring hope and change across the galaxy. The victory was complete, but the journey was far from over. Humans had shown their strength once more, but the galaxy was vast, full of dangers, and ready to test them again. Yet Lyris knew one thing for certain. As long as humans stood beside her, no challenge was too great, no enemy too formidable, and no obstacle insurmountable. And somewhere in the shadows, those who had underestimated humanity paused, realizing too late that the species they had dismissed could alter the balance of power in ways they had never imagined. The halls of Velora Prime's palace were alive with anticipation. News of the humans, courage, and ingenuity had spread like wildfire, reaching every corner of the city. Citizens crowded the streets outside, their eyes wide with curiosity and awe. They had seen whispers of the species that had defied danger, rescued the princess, and defeated enemies far more powerful than themselves. Today, they would witness history. Lyris walked beside Captain Elias Rourke, her steps steady but heart racing. The alien queen had summoned them for a public assembly, a gathering of the council, nobles, and common citizens alike. The message was clear. The humans would be recognized not as outsiders or intruders, but as heroes and allies. Lyris could feel the weight of the moment. This recognition would forever change the perception of humans in her world. The great hall stretched before them, a magnificent space of shimmering crystal and polished metal. Elevated platforms displayed the council, dignitaries, and the queen herself. Elias and his crew entered with quiet confidence, their presence commanding attention without arrogance. The murmurs of the crowd fell to a respectful hush. The alien queen rose from her throne, her regal presence commanding silence. Her eyes, filled with emotion, scanned the humans and then settled on her daughter. "Lyris has returned to us," she began, her voice echoing through the hall, "because of courage, ingenuity, and loyalty. Not ours alone, but of beings whom many dismissed as weak, insignificant, or unworthy of trust. These humans, these extraordinary creatures, risked their lives to save my daughter. They faced impossible odds and succeeded where many would have failed." Lyris stepped forward, standing beside Elias. "Mother," she said, her voice clear and unwavering, "I was captured, but I am no longer a victim. These humans saved me. They acted with intelligence, bravery, and heart. They have shown me, and our people, that strength is not always measured by size or force, but by will, creativity, and loyalty. You are no longer outsiders. You are allies, and your deeds will be remembered for generations." Humans, once underestimated, were now celebrated as heroes. Elias stepped forward, bowing respectfully to the queen and then to the assembly. "We do not seek praise," he said. "We act because it is right. Humans have survived not by fear or domination, but by courage, ingenuity, and loyalty. We protect those who cannot protect themselves, and we face challenges with determination. Today we stand not for glory, but for the truth, that any being, regardless of origin, can achieve the impossible when they act with heart and mind." The combination of courage and intellect was a lesson in itself, one that resonated deeply with all who had gathered. Lyris turned to her people, her eyes bright with hope. Humans have taught me that cooperation, respect, and courage can change outcomes. They have shown that the galaxy is not bound by old prejudices or assumptions. Together, we can face any challenge, overcome any threat, and create a future stronger than any one species alone. Their courage has saved my daughter, inspired my people, and reminded us all that the galaxy is richer when we respect the abilities of every being. From this day forward, humans are not to be underestimated. They are a force capable of changing history. Children pointed excitedly at the humans, inspired by their courage. Merchants and artisans began crafting symbols and sculptures commemorating their deeds. Stories of human ingenuity spread through Velora Prime like wildfire, and soon, the tale would reach other worlds, reshaping opinions across the galaxy. Elias and his crew took a quiet moment to reflect. They had faced danger, navigated impossible odds, and emerged victorious. Yet this recognition was different from any battle won. It was a testament not only to human courage, but to the power of doing what was right, even when it seemed impossible. Lyris, standing beside them, understood this more clearly than anyone. She had seen the human spirit in action and realized its profound impact. Over the following days, humans were invited to participate in diplomatic discussions, sharing their knowledge, insights, and strategies. Lyris facilitated these exchanges, bridging the gap between her people and the humans who had proven themselves. Together, they began to forge alliances that would strengthen Velora Prime and the surrounding systems. Humans, once dismissed as insignificant, now held a voice respected across worlds. Lyris spent time with the crew, learning from them, observing their problem-solving methods, and understanding their perspective. She marveled at their creativity, adaptability, and willingness to act in the face of uncertainty. Every challenge they faced, every decision they made, was a lesson in resilience and ingenuity. For the first time, she envisioned a future where her people and humans could collaborate, facing the galaxy's challenges together. The alien queen observed these interactions with growing admiration. She had ruled for centuries, seen countless species rise and fall, yet humans were unlike any she had encountered. Their strength was subtle, not in raw power, but in courage, intellect, and unity. They inspired loyalty and trust, not fear or obedience. She realized that underestimating them had been a grave error, one she would never repeat. One evening, as the city quieted and the twin moons rose over the horizon, Lyris stood atop a palace balcony, gazing at the stars. Elias joined her, standing silently beside her. "You've changed my people's perception," she said softly. "You've shown them courage, intelligence, and heart. Humans are no longer outsiders, they are heroes. Most species just don't see it until it's too late. What we do is not for recognition, it's for survival, for loyalty, and for doing what is right. That's what makes us strong." Their presence brought innovation and hope. Where Velorans had once relied on hierarchy and authority, they now saw the value of ingenuity, collaboration, and courage. Humans had demonstrated that true power was not only in size or technology, but in determination, intelligence, and the will to act. As the sun set over Velora Prime, the city alive with celebration, the alien queen stood beside Lyris and the humans. "You have taught us much," she said. "Your courage, wisdom, and loyalty have reshaped our world. You are a part of our history now, and your deeds will never be forgotten." Humans were extraordinary not because of their weapons, not because of their size, but because of their spirit. Across the galaxy, the story of their deeds would spread. Humans had saved a princess, outsmarted a ruthless faction, and earned the respect of an entire civilization. They had done it with courage, intelligence, and unwavering loyalty. And for anyone who had doubted them, the message was clear. Humans were a force to be reckoned with, capable of shaping events far beyond what others could imagine. The stars above Velora Prime twinkled as if in acknowledgement of the humans' achievements. Lyris looked out at the horizon, imagining the future. She saw humans and Velorans standing together, allies united by trust, respect, and shared purpose. She felt a deep certainty that no challenge, no enemy, and no obstacle could stand against such a union. And somewhere far beyond the reaches of known space, those who had underestimated humans paused, reconsidered, and perhaps feared what they had once ignored. Humans had proven themselves in ways no one could deny. They had shown courage, ingenuity, and heart. They had changed perceptions, saved lives, and inspired hope. And for Lyris, Elias, and the humans of the Vanguard, it was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown dangers and opportunities. Yet as the twin moons of Velora Prime shone overhead, one truth was undeniable. Humans, once dismissed, were now celebrated as heroes. They had faced the impossible, adapted, and triumphed. They had proven that the greatest power lay not in strength or technology, but in courage, intelligence, and the unyielding human spirit. In that moment, the alien queen wept once more, this time not for sorrow, but for awe, respect, and the knowledge that her daughter had returned home not only alive, but with humans who had reshaped her world forever. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again.